Welcome back to the AutoCAD 2011 series of tutorials. In this tutorial we're going to go over the circle command. There's various different ways to define your circle and a lot of different command line options. So as we go through this tutorial and as a new user, I'm going to recommend that you actually use the circle command off of your toolbar. Again, because there is a lot of command line options and it can be kind of confusing for a new user. First of all, make sure that your dynamic input is off. I don't want those command line options showing up on your cursor or near your crosshairs because it can get kind of confusing. So to start the circle command, there's a couple of different things. I can use the command line option, the command line alias, which is just the letter C, and hit enter. I'm going to hit escape. But again, like I said, I would rather a new user start with the on the ribbon. If you go over here to the ribbon, your draw portion here, and you go to click on that down arrow, it's going to show you the 6 different ways to define a circle: center radius, center diameter, 2-point, 3-point, tangent, tangent, radius, and tangent, tangent, tangent. And I'm going to show you how all of these work. Let's start off with center radius. And as you might expect, if you click on center radius, AutoCAD is going to ask you to first specify the center point of your circle. Don't worry about these command line options. Because I selected center radius, it's going to select the proper command line options to define a circle based on the center point and the radius. So I've selected center radius. Now it's asking me to specify my center point. I'm going to pick just somewhere arbitrarily out here in space. The next thing AutoCAD is going to ask me for by default is the radius. Notice it says specify radius of the circle. Now I can hit this option D for diameter, but remember when I came over here to my pull down, I did center radius. So I've told AutoCAD that I want to define the radius. Messed that up. Let me go back here. Center radius, specify my center point. Now it's asking me for the radius of my circle. Here's the default that it's going to put in, 2.0311. That came from when I was messing around here just a minute ago. I can use that value or I can type in a value. I'm going to type in a value of, let's say, 3. So I'm going to type in the number 3 and hit enter. Now I've just drawn a circle with the center point of right here and a radius of 3. Now that circle is exactly 3 units, or has a radius of 3 units, because I've defined that by typing it in as opposed to just picking somewhere out here in space. So whenever we can, or whenever possible, you always want to define your objects by typing in values or exact values. It's going to make your drawing much, much more accurate, and there's no reason why we wouldn't want to make our drawing as accurate as possible. So that's the radius. Now let me erase that. This time I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select center diameter. And as you might expect, if I click on center diameter, you'll notice AutoCAD, first of all, it brings up, if you leave your mouse right there on center diameter for just a moment without moving it, it'll bring up a drawing and kind of show you an example of what it's going to be asking for. It says creates a circle using a center point and a diameter. So I'm going to click on that button, and again it's going to ask me to specify the center point of my circle. I'm just going to pick somewhere out here in space. Now this time it's asking me to specify the diameter of my circle. It's giving me a default of 6, and the reason why it's giving me a default of 6 is because the last circle that I drew had a radius of 3. Well, if my radius is 3, as you know in geometry, then that means my diameter is going to be 6. So it's going to use the last value that I put in, which was a radius of 6, and which equals a diameter a radius of 3, which equals a diameter of 6. Now, if I wanted my diameter to be something different, again, I just type in whatever I want it to be. Let's say I wanted it to be 4. I'm going to type in the value of 4 and hit enter. Now I have a circle which I've defined the center point, and then I've typed in or given it a value of 4 for the diameter. Real simple commands for drawing a circle. I'm going to erase that. This time I'm going to go over and I'm going to do 2-point. Now before I do that, I've already drawn a little sketch here. I'm going to be doing some things with picking points and panning around the drawing. Don't worry about those right now. We're going to get into panning around drawings and viewing drawings and some of these other object snaps and things that you'll see me doing. Don't worry about those. Focus on what I'm doing and how I'm defining my circles, because that's what we're talking about here. We'll get into those other things a little bit later. So this time I'm going to use 2-point. What this is going to do is it's going to draw a circle with me defining 2 points that are going to be the diameter of the circle. So let's say, let me start this command, and it's going to say specify the center point. No, it's not. It's going to go through here, and it's going to pick the proper command line option, and it's going to say specify the endpoint of the circle's diameter. In other words, give me 1 point on that circle's diameter. Well, I want the endpoint to be the endpoint of this line right here, this arc right here, and I'm going to use the object snap end of. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that later. So there's one endpoint or one edge of my circle. Now the opposite edge is going to define my diameter, and I'm going to pick the endpoint of this arc here. So now I've defined my circle by picking 2 points. 1 point right here, and then the opposite point on my circle right here, and that's giving me a diameter. I don't know what that diameter is, but I do know that I want it to project directly across from this endpoint to this endpoint of those 2 arcs. And that gives me that diameter right there. So that's the 2 points defining the diameter. The other option here that we can do is 3 points. Now let me pan over here. 3 points is going to have me define 3 points or input 3 points, which is going to define the outer edge of my circle. So I'm going to go to my command, or excuse me, to my ribbon. I'm going to go down here to 3 point, and it's asking me, okay, specify the first point on your circle. So I'm going to type in my object snap endpoint. Don't worry about that. But I'm going to say, okay, I want the endpoint of here, I want the endpoint of here, and I want the endpoint of here. So once I've defined those 3 points, it's going to create my circle touching those 3 points. And it gives me a circle, no matter how close I zoom, that is exactly on that endpoint. Okay? And it touches my circle at those 3 points. So that's using the 3-point option. The other option here is tangent, tangent, radius. Let me erase this. Let me pan back over to this drawing here. What that's doing is I'm telling AutoCAD, okay, I want my arc or my circle to be tangent to this circle and tangent to this circle, and then I'll give you a radius. And you know, remember from geometry, a tangent is where one arc touches another arc at 1 point and doesn't cross. So that's tangent. Let me erase these, and let's start my circle command, and I'm going to do tangent, tangent, radius. So AutoCAD's saying, okay, give me my first tangent point. Well, it's automatically going to put in my object snap tangent. I know we haven't talked about object snaps yet, but it's going to say, okay, define my first tangent point. So it's saying find the tangent of your first circle, which is just somewhere over here, it doesn't matter, and then define the second tangent, or a tangent of my second circle. I'm going to pick right here. Now it's going to say define my radius, or give me the radius. And I'm going to use a radius of, let's say, 2.5. Now what that's done is it's drawn a circle. I don't know where the center point is, but I do know that that circle is tangent to this circle, tangent to this circle, and it has a radius of 2.5 exactly. Okay? So that's tangent, tangent, radius. It's great for doing things like this. So now I can just come back in and trim off the portion that I don't want. And we'll get into the trim command later, but that's what that's for. Okay? Now, that's tangent, tangent, radius. And finally, the last one is I'm going to use tangent, tangent, tangent right here. So I'm going to define 3 tangent points. So let's say I had 3 circles out here. And I want to draw a circle that is tangent to each one of these. In other words, it touches each one of these at exactly 1 point on their edge. Okay? So I'm going to start my circle command using this tangent, tangent, tangent option. AutoCAD's just don't worry about this. It's coming all the way down here. It's saying, okay, specify my first point on a circle tangent to what? Well, tangent to this circle right here. So I'm going to pick. Now it's saying specify the second point on another circle and tangent to right here. And my third point on another circle, and I'm going to pick somewhere here. So what it's done now is it's drawn or defined a circle, the circle right here, exactly tangent to this circle, exactly tangent to this circle, and exactly tangent to this circle. I don't know where my center point is, and I don't know what the radius is, but when I drew this circle, I didn't care. All I knew is that I wanted it tangent to those 3 other circles. So those are the options that you have for defining a circle. Now again, I recommend using the pull down here to define your circles until you get used to using these command line options to define your circle, because this can get a little bit confusing, especially when you're doing the circle command. So again, use these pull downs and I think you're going to be in good shape. And those are the different ways that we can define a circle.